The Cerebral Entertainment Podcast.
Hi, everybody.
Are we recording?
On this side.
Hi.
Now we're going to record over here, and boom.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to yet another riveting edition of the Cerebral Entertainment Podcast. I am James, and with me, as always, is my good friend Colt.
I am always here.
You're always here.
Always.
You would think you lived here or something.
Maybe.
Yeah?
Maybe.
And you probably live in this very room a lot of the times.
Most of the time, like if I don't have control of the remote control, I come in here. Because I can get on like Netflix and things through my computer, which is nice.
Yes. So if it's dependent on you not having control or remote control, meaning from the wife, then chances are you're in here most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Or podcast editing, or podcasting.
Right.
Or just taking a nap, you know?
Nice.
I haven't really done that yet.
Well, you don't really have the spot to. You don't have the seating to at this point for a nap. You could nap in this chair, but you're going to be flopping over and falling around. And
when a baby comes, I might have to figure out something, though.
You should get a cot, a foldable cot,
okay.
Like a camping cot.
I can do that.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
Which, speaking of, I'm tent shopping. I'm so excited to be shopping for a new tent.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's so much fun. I just, there's so many different varieties of tents, but I digress. Looking forward to summertime,
You shouldn't
man.
digress, though, because if people don't know, like, me and you stood, like, we went and got a good lift in, and then we go into the locker room, and we stood there probably for 15 minutes. People just coming in and out and everything, and me and you were sitting there talking about tents. Just in the middle of the locker room while people are changing and everything. I just thought it was hilarious.
I forgot that we were talking about tents in the locker room.
I just think about that sometimes because me and you have conversations like where we're in the locker room, and it's like after we've already changed and we're getting ready to leave, we're just standing there for like 15 minutes just talking about whatever while people are walking in and out, or it's just funny.
God knows what they think of us.
Who cares?
Not that it matters, but I mean, in all honesty, we should have our some kind of a podcast mic with us and record some of those conversations, because I mean, a lot of them are probably not worth remembering.
What would we call it? Like the CEP locker room sessions?
It's exactly what I was thinking of.
I like it. I like it. I like it. I mean, there may be times where you get some extra audio that you don't really want if you're too close to the stall, or
true.
If there's somebody showering, or it probably couldn't be a video podcast. That's probably illegal.
I wouldn't want that anyway. I wouldn't want to see a bunch of dudes walking around getting dressed or whatever. And no, that's not what we want to portray. I mean, it is what it is. But the audio would work just fine. And it would be interesting, and people would definitely look at us even in more of a peculiar manner than what they already do.
Right? Yeah.
But I think it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
So. I think we could pull it off.
We could, if anybody could, we could pull it off.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, I bet the audio isn't great in there, anyways. It's so echoey.
It's part of the ambiance, though. You're talking about the locker room sessions. Obviously, you're going to have some locker room ambiance.
Yeah.
Think
they'd let us put up some like foam on the wall or something?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But that's okay. It's a good thought.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, man, how's it going? You doing all right?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Good.
Another nasty Sunday out, but
it is.
It's good for podcasting and
good for podcasting, not for disc golf.
No, man.
Here we are. You've got me all amped up. I've been a total of one time out on the disc golf course. Almost immediately ordered my first set on Amazon. They came in. You supplied me with a bag. Thank you very much. Since you got a new one, you give me your bag to use, and I appreciate that. And it's just sitting there because it's a rainy, boggy, freaking mud pit that we live in right now.
Mother Nature is an ass right now.
She
it's
really
like,
is.
oh, cool, you bought new discs and a new bag because you really want to play disc golf. All right, well, here's a tsunami that's going to make for 4 days, and then it's going to be nasty for the next week too, so you're not going to want to play.
Yes.
So that's cool. Thanks for that. We need an indoor course.
I've thought about that, but how do you do that though? Because it's like...
That'd be very big.
It had to be very big, and it would be interesting because of the roll that you would get on the concrete floor. You know what I'm saying?
True, yeah.
It's like when that thing was up on its side and took off rolling, it would do all kinds of funky stuff.
Right.
But Having said that, there would be less chance of you throwing one deep into the woods where I have to crawl through the sticker bush.
That's always a good thing. No, I do. That doesn't happen very often anymore, but every once in a while, that little pinky gets stuck underneath it. If I'm just trying to like launch it, and my pinky gets stuck underneath it to where it doesn't release when I want it to, and then it ends up there in the woods.
Yeah.
Where luckily everything's dead still, so we were able to see it where it landed in the woods.
Yeah.
And you were able to climb through sticky bushes and all that to get it.
Yeah.
And I felt bad because you were doing that, but I didn't feel bad because I didn't have to do it.
Well, in all fairness to you and your conscience, you didn't ask me to.
That's true.
So when I saw it, I just focused in. I get, laser focus.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go after it.
Right.
I saw it. It was a mission, and I chose to accept the mission without really thinking about it too much. But
Well, I do want to give a shout out to Smoke and Ace's disc golf shop up in Winsville, because we did go up there yesterday, me and the wife.
okay,
Went to do some baby shopping, and I kind of threw out the, well, if you're going to make me baby shop today, you should let me spend 10 minutes in here.
it's only fair.
It's only fair. And then I spent $120.
Also only fair.
Only fair. But I did get 5 new discs, which are pretty sweet. One that's called a Colt, which is pretty neat.
Yes.
So I'm excited to throw them. And I'm
Nice.
excited now. I have a full bag, so even you can throw some and get comfortable with some before you have to order more.
Yes.
Like me, I started out with an actual Frisbee playing this game, which apparently you get reamed on social media for if you try to post that and say you were playing disc golf with a Frisbee.
I could imagine.
People don't like that.
Yeah.
So
It's like
I'm
playing golf with a tennis ball or something.
right. Yeah, I'm getting in the groove of things now. I'm
Yeah.
excited. It's gonna be fun.
So what is it about disc golf? Because I can see now, I've heard of it for a while, never really paid a whole lot of attention to it. And I could say I had a passing interest in it, but not enough to actually pull the trigger on it until you took me out to play just, not too long ago. What kind of a culture are we dealing with here? Like the people who play disc golf, do they fit into a category? Like with golf, you've got typically, it's more of a, I don't want to say richer, but it's where you can wear silly pants or silly shorts, in your golf shoes, and you get out there and you wag your butt and you hit the ball. I don't know. It's just a particular kind of person, just like, I don't know. I think the same way about people who play basketball, I guess, just a particular breed. That was the culture I was in when I was young, growing up into my early 20s. I was all about the basketball, and hitting the street, the parks, things like that, street ball, and playing a lot of basketball. And I don't know, that culture, it was kind of like I had my shorts, my long shorts, and my basketball shorts is pretty much all I ever wore, with the high tops, and that was just kind of my style too. Does disc golf have any kind of a culture that's you can really
You would
define?
think. So you would think. I've had a lot of people ask me, and this is not coming from a pro by any standpoint at all. I'm very new to this game, but I've had a lot of people ask me what is disc golf? Literally, we have 4 or 5 really decent courses around here, and most people, if they drive by a park, they'll see the basket out there, or a basket's out there, but they don't know what you do.
Yeah.
And I posted on social media a couple weeks ago, and I got to work the next day, and somebody was like, "Okay, seriously, what is disc golf? How do you play?" Just basically, it's golf, but instead of a hole to put a ball in, it's a basket and it's a disc. In reality, that's, if you break it down, that's really what it is. Mm-hmm. You're still playing by pars and birdies and bogeys and eagles, and I'm not playing with eagles or birdies barely, but still, you know what I'm saying? If you break it down, that's what it is. But
Yeah.
it's a very tricky game. There's a lot of different things to it, and I kind of combine it with bowling too, because it's kind of the disc is made to do what it's going to do. So I don't know if you know much about bowling, but you have weighted bowling balls that some are more weighted than others and things like that, to where there's more spin on the ball. So some people, that depends on where you got to throw it and all that kind of stuff. A disc is kind of the same way too. A disc is made to do one certain thing. You just have to make it work for you and throw it the way it needs to be thrown to do its thing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of along those lines. But as far as culture goes, so far what I can tell is the culture is awesome. Everybody who plays is really good people. It seems like everybody's really nice to each other. There's forums on Facebook where people get on there and Hey, I found this disc at, so-and-so park yesterday. There's no name on it. If you can claim it, it's your, come get it. Or, I found this, I'm going to leave it over here at the park so you can go get it if it's yours, stuff like that. So far the culture is really cool. Now, golf is there's a lot of good people that play golf too, but there's kind of a snobby culture that
That's
can
exactly what I was
come
going to
along
say.
with golf,
Yeah.
I don't really feel that way with this. Maybe it's because you're playing in like a park versus like an actual golf course that people pay money to do.
Right. And it's free. There's no there's no club memberships.
Right.
So I'm a member of this country club. And if you're just here, just to play a day,
Right.
then you're beneath me.
Right.
You're beneath my golf cleat. And how dare you even make eye contact with me? I've had those run-ins on the golf course before.
Right. But what's funny is like when we were leaving the disc golf shop yesterday with these discs, like I said, I spent like $120. And my wife goes, "You just spent $120 in there." And I was like, all right, here's the deal. Before I started disc golf, we played golf quite a few times every year, right?
Yeah.
I was like, think about, okay, yeah, I bought discs, but anywhere I go to play, it's free.
Right.
And so if you take that into account versus how many times we would have to buy golf balls, and then pay everywhere you go to play golf,
Which is not cheap.
in most places, and things like that. I was like, within maybe 4 or 5 times of playing in a year of golf, I paid for these discs that I can go play for free anywhere I want to, anytime I want.
Right.
And plus, something me and you've been talking about a lot lately, it's cardio, man. There's some courses that, that right down the road, there's one that's really hilly, that's up in the woods and, has valleys and everything else too. I mean, there's some good cardio that goes along with disc golf too. So it's, I'm excited for the summer. It's gonna be fun.
Good. Yeah. I saw a post the other day and it just totally struck me. It says, "I'm going to summer this summer like I've never summered before." And that's how I'm feeling, man. I need it after last year and just after 2021 so far. I'm ready to summer this summer, man.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely going to include some disc golf.
Yeah.
And some tent camping.
Absolutely.
And some floating. And there's going to, it's going to be, I'm looking forward to this summer.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm happy that disc golf has that kind of an atmosphere. And I think you're right. I think it probably has to do with the nature of the game, being outside, and it's free. And so far, it seems like it's a happy place to be. It's a good time.
I mean,
in a lot of respects.
And I'm not saying that it's the same way everywhere. I'm just talking about our area in general. Yeah. It seems that way. Like, I told you the first time me and my nephew went and played. We played with frisbees. Like, we didn't really know what we were doing. We just went out there to play. And while we're out there, we're out in the middle of the woods, not knowing what we're doing. And these guys that were on the course came up and just gave us 2 discs. And was like, "Here, throw these." And they even took the time to stand there and tell us how to throw them differently than a frisbee and stuff like that. I don't know these people. I've never met them in my life.
They're like, "Here, stop embarrassing yourself with these frisbees."
Right.
And,
I mean, yeah, you could take it that way,
but
if you wanted to.
It's still a nice thing to do. They could have just pointed and laughed.
Right. But I mean, for the most part, the culture that I've seen, the people around, at least around this area, are very nice. And we'll take the time to, if you have questions to ask, ask, and they'll try to give you, whether they can, which I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not going to burden people with, but I do need to get some friends of ours that we know out on the course with me to kind of show me a few things. But.
I got you. Well, I've been scouring YouTube a little bit, watching some videos, mostly on form, on throwing the disc and things like that. Just the basics right now, because that's what I need, because I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'm interested. Yeah, it's got me. I'm hooked so far, so can't wait to get out and play some more. But you mentioned how those guys just kind of come out there and gave you a disc and kind of showed you what was up. Kind of a pay it forward type of thing. That was just a good thing to do. And that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, and we decided to go ahead and talk more and discuss, kind of unpack some of the concepts of paying it forward, things like that. That the reason why it intrigues me so much is because of the ripple effect, that it has. And I give you a short example, and it's not a lot of impact. There's not a lot of nothing to the story. But just the other day, I was at Casey's, right? gas station, a little convenience store. And I was getting something or the other. I don't even remember. And I'm standing in line, and there's this old guy, ancient. He must be 117. I don't know. He was just very old. In front of me in line, and then in front of him, there was this little girl. And there was nobody in the two registers that they had. There was nobody up there. She was off doing something else. And then she was on the phone, and it's just one of those annoying things. And I wasn't in like a super hurry, and I didn't feel like I was portraying myself to be in a super big hurry, right? I might have had a little bit of a look of discontent because of the nature of what was going on there. She wasn't doing a very good job at getting people in and out of the store. And usually when you go to a convenience store, that's one of the things I'm looking for. I want to get in and out, right?
Right.
So I'm standing there, and the old timer says, "Hey, you go ahead and go in front of me." I figure, well, he's very old, and he's not trying to go anywhere anytime really quickly. So I move up. Next, I move up to behind the little girl, and she says, "Here, you can go in front of me." And so I get up to the front of the line, and it just struck me, and I told them both thank you, and I told them both again on my way out. It's like, "Thank you very much." Usually, on a lot of occasions, I would even deny that. I was like, no, I'm in no hurry. You go ahead. Right. You do that. But this time, I don't know. I just accepted it and let it have a positive effect on my attitude that day. You know what I'm saying? Because I really didn't need to get in front of an old man and a young girl, right?
Right.
Out of us three, I was the one who really should have been, the guy who was helping the other two out.
Right.
But they offered, and I took it. And like I said, it had a positive net impact on my attitude that day, on my perspective, because I probably was, sometimes I get in a pissy mood, right? And with things going on, sometimes it's compounded by more things that just, gets worse and worse.
Right.
But I really didn't even notice that day that I was going down that track, but I did notice the inverse, like when something good did happen, I noticed how much it did actually lift me out of whatever kind of mood I was in that I wasn't even really being mindful of.
Did it make you feel like you needed to pay it forward, like we're talking about, like to do something like that for someone else?
Like, not immediately. What it does, though, is I let it impact me in a way to where that kind of, I'm more mindful, more conscious of doing those things more often.
Yeah.
And not letting my own mood cause me to, I'm going to put blinders on to the positive things around me or to doing something positive in the face of crap going on in life, know? When we're having our worst day, when we're having a bad time and we're in a foul mood for whatever reason, that's when we should really try our hardest to do something positive.
Right.
That's when it's going to make the biggest impact on ourselves for sure, but probably on other people too, in my experience,
Yeah, interesting story that kind of goes along with this. So me and my wife were at Lowe's. This was last year sometime, and there was an older gentleman who you could tell, like, or he was in a cart, like the mobile carts you ride around Lowe's. Mm-hmm. He was one of those, but he was like, his attitude was, you could tell, is like, I'm retired, I'm in no hurry, I'm just here buying a pack of screws or whatever it was. It was something small that he was buying. And we had a couple more things than he did, but he still was like, here, go on ahead of us. Or go on ahead of me. And we're like, are you sure? There's no reason to. You got one thing. And he's like, no, go ahead. So we go ahead and we get up to pay, and something was wrong with something that we bought. There wasn't a tag on it or something like that. And it took maybe 5 to 10 minutes longer while people were waiting in line behind us. So my wife feels bad about it because this guy, for one, let us go ahead of him, and now he's got to wait even longer. So she just went and grabbed his screws and put them on the thing and said, here, I want to pay for his stuff too. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's an interesting, so she felt bad because he had to wait, even though it wasn't our fault. Like, it was something that had to do with Lowe's. Yeah. But it was like, she felt bad. So it was like giving back to him for giving us the right of way in front of him. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny. But the reason that this whole conversation really came up between me and you was because, so I was in line at Taco Bell, okay? And every time I've gone through fast food here lately, I've always been thinking about this whole pay it forward thing. You hear about it in the area some. You'll see, like, if you follow any of the groups on, like, the what's going on in our county and whatnot on Facebook. Every once in a while you'll see somebody say, I don't know who it was in the red truck, but, you paid for my meal and it made my day and this, that, and the other. So I've been thinking about that a lot, and I just about pulled the trigger in Taco Bell parking lot for buying the person's food behind me, okay? The reason I didn't, and this is weird, and I shied away from it right as I got up to it. So, like, I had a car in front of me. I was sitting there waiting while they were paying, and I was thinking, okay, I'm going to do it. I'll go ahead and pay for the people behind me. So my brain works this way. I got up to the thing, and I happened to look back, and the woman's car behind me had her window down. And my brain goes, well, if I'm going to do this, I don't want them to hear me do it. So I talk myself out of buying their food because then it just seems weird. Like, I wanted it to be when they get up there, they had no idea this was going to happen, but now they're going to hear me say it. Yeah. And then see me drive away. And not that that's still not going to make the same impact, but to me it does somehow, right? And also, I was internally having a fight wondering, am I doing this? Okay, first off, it shouldn't matter either way, but am I doing this because I want to see a post on Facebook later that says, the guy in the red truck, thank you so much for buying my Taco Bell? Yeah. Or am I doing this because it's just a nice gesture to do for somebody? And you don't know what kind of situation they're in. It could have possibly made their entire week. I don't know. Should it matter? Probably not. It's still a good gesture to do. It's a nice thing to do.
In all fairness, your truck's not red, though. It's more of a maroon.
Okay, whatever.
You and I have had this conversation before.
We have.
Not about the truck, but about, I guess, expecting the return. Or expecting good thing, doing something good because you expect something good to happen to you, or just even feeling good about it, which is in and of itself, in your perspective, at least what you struggle with, is a selfish motive. And I still push back against that quite a bit because of the ripples that it does cause. Right? If it makes you feel a little prideful because you're like, yeah, I did that thing, and I'm a better person, I'm a good person, and it just kind of inflates your ego or whatever the case may be, your moral compass, your perception of such, whatever, then okay, but like you said, what if it did completely turn that person's day around and they were having a crap day like what I've experienced? Because I have another story about Aldi's, and that time at Aldi's, it completely turned my day around. Like the time at Casey's, it was an uplifter, and I noticed it, and I let it impact me. I let the positivity run through me, and just let it take its course. Because even if I don't intentionally at that point in time turn around and do something good because something good happened to me, right? I think that that momentum of that positive gesture carries on in some good way. I just think that's how it happens. You can call it karma or whatever. I just call it a wave of positivity, and it catches you, and you can ride that thing. But at any rate, I think that it doesn't necessarily matter whether or not you have a little bit of a selfish motive, just a little bit. Because it's very difficult for me to believe that Mother Teresa or Gandhi or whomever doesn't have a little bit of a not necessarily a prideful motive, but they if they're thoughtful at all about the process, they know how things work. It's just the way of the world, the way of the universe.
Right.
Positive things equal positive things.
Right.
For the most part. And so when something like that happens, then I think you just got to accept it.
Well, I was kind of thinking about that too, though. Like, even if you start doing things like this, like just simple things like letting people in front of you or paying it forward by buying food for somebody or something like that, even if you start doing those things in the beginning, even if it's kind of a selfish motive, I think if you keep doing it, it becomes not selfish anymore, because it becomes kind of like a habit, sort of. Like, if I'm gonna walk into a store and somebody's walking behind me and I open the door and let them go through first, I'm not doing like for me, that's not, I don't even really think of second guess that. I don't do it because I want the thank you from them. It's just a matter of that's what you should do. You should hold this door open for people. You know, so what I'm saying is like, I guess paying it forward can kind of become a habit that it's just, you know, not even a thought anymore.
Yeah.
It just kind of happens.
Second nature.
So you're not necessarily getting the feeling of, I guess it's something you don't think about because you don't have to think about it ahead of time. You just do it instead of like those people that were in line at Casey's. They may not have been thinking about, I'm going to let this guy go in front of me because it's going to make me feel good. It's more of, this guy don't have very many things. I'll let him go in front of me. That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know.
I think they sensed that I was in a hurry.
Yeah.
Which once again, I really wasn't. I was just kind of like not in a great mood, I guess. And so this lady up here taking her time and her doing her thing, I guess it was affecting me more than it was them.
Yeah.
And because I really, once again, I didn't feel like it was much of an outward expression that I was portraying. But looking back, I know I was annoyed, and I think they just spotted that, and they weren't so annoyed by it, and they wanted to help me out with, like you said, with no expectations of, you know, me thanking them or something good happening to them, some kind of windfall of goodness.
Well, what
I think
about
people just do that, you know?
So, and we may have talked about this before, it kind of seems familiar, but what about like, if you're going to pay it forward in a drive-through, you're going to pay for somebody's meal in front and behind you.
And you hope there's not a family of 7 who are very, very hungry.
Well, okay, so for one, I think no matter what your motive is on buying the food for the person behind you, you're going to look and see how many people are in that car. I just think that's a thing that's going to happen. You're not, unless you've got just money to blow, that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're not going to not look in your side view mirror to see if there's 23 people in that car.
Uh-huh.
Or if it's just one, you know.
It's a basketball team.
Or you're not going to kind of try to hear what they're ordering, or you're not going to try to see how long they are at the what's that thing called? Just the microphone, I guess.
Yeah. Intercom, whatever.
Yeah, the intercom. Just to, you know, pay attention to how long they're there, because you know if they're just ordering a soda, it's going to be like, hey, I need a Pepsi, and then they drive on up.
Yeah.
You know, I think those are there, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if you place a price tag on it, does that take away from the good gesture somehow?
So yeah, to an extent though. It's like, because if it is a basketball team that just got done with their game and they're all hungry, I don't roll like that. I don't have that. I don't have that kind of money, right? Maybe after I get this stimmy that Biden's throwing at us, you know, maybe I can go do that.
Now, I mean, listen, you can just hope that they're buying off the dollar menu, and maybe they bought 7 burgers that cost.
True.
You know.
True. No, but I mean, I think it's perfectly okay to mitigate that potential issue by asking the person at the register, letting them know, hey, I was considering paying for their meal. How much was it? And maybe having a limit for yourself. So maybe it's $20. And if it ends up being 24, you're like, I've got 4 more. I can go ahead and do that. Or if it ends up being 24 and you don't have the extra, well, here, I want to put this toward there, so they only owe $4.
That's not a bad idea.
So you kind of set your own limit based off of what you can give.
But
Look, I'd like to go build an orphanage for orphans, right?
Right.
But I don't have the kind of jack to do that, So my intentions are good, but you've got to deal with the resources that you've got on hand, and that's all you can do, But you're still trying to do a good thing.
Yeah, but see, that's where my thing comes in. Like, my brain gets involved in it again too, where it's like, what if the person behind me has their window rolled down and they hear me say, "Hey, how much was theirs behind me?" And then it's like, $45, and I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just going to pay for mine and leave. And they heard that. Now, I may never see that person again behind me, but still, it's like, if you want to ruin somebody's day, that's a good way to do it. Like, they thought about buying my food and then decided not to. So I don't know.
But still, I mean, set yourself that limit. If you're going to do it, set yourself a limit of 20, whatever it is,
right?
And put that toward their meal, and so they get like half off,
right?
Almost, if that's the case. That's still gonna be good,
right?
They're still gonna appreciate that because they were expecting to spend $45.
But it's still a weird scenario for like the cashier, because I guess when the next person drives up, they're like, hey, they paid for half of your meal. Like, that's, I don't know.
Yeah. It's still something.
It is.
It's still something.
I don't know.
I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
I do that a lot.
I know you do. But it seems to me like if you have to put too much thought into it, it kind of takes away from the sense of genuineness for you.
Yeah.
It's like if you can't just do it and move on and not think about it, hopefully, then it really takes some of the impact away for you, you know. And that's understandable to a degree, but at the same time, I would urge against not doing things because thoughts get in the way, because it's still a good thing, you know, and your intention still yet goes a long way. I believe that it's the motive in and of itself. I think somehow, some way, and this might be magical thinking, I don't know, but somehow, some way, I think your motive carries the weight of the positive wave vibe, if you will, that's going out, you know. And I think if you're not doing it for the right reason, probably still good things are going to happen if you're helping people. But I don't think that positive momentum is quite as impactful. And once again, I may just be using, you know, some kind of karma-based magical thinking in that, but that's the way I think about it.
Yeah.
So I just always try to keep my intentions as good as possible, you know, the best I can do, and do the best I can.
Right.
So that, before we move on, that time at Aldi's, this was a time where, because usually, and this was a lesson for me in a couple different ways, I usually, like if someone offers something like to get ahead of them, like, no, don't worry about it. I'm okay. I'm not in a hurry. You know, that's fine. Because they're being nice, because at a grocery store, especially like Aldi's, I've got like maybe 2 or 3 things in my hands, and they've got a cart full, so they know that I'm going to get, you know, in and out of there really quickly. Plus, Aldi's, man, they are quick. Those cashiers, man, you've got to be on your game, because they're waiting on you to pay for the stuff.
Right.
They're already done. Anyway, so I've got 2 or 3 things, and a person, you know, in front of me has got the cart full, but I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm in no hurry. You know, I'm in no hurry. That's kind of my way of, in my mind, of giving back in a way of being positive. It's like, I appreciate your gesture, but you go ahead. You know, I'm not in a hurry, but thank you for, you know, I always say thank you. But,
you know, but it's also one of those things, if you think about the other side of it. So like if I'm in a store and I have a whole cart full of stuff, and you have 3 things in your hand, and it would take you 2 seconds to get through this line. If I say, hey, go ahead of me, that's fine, you know, no big deal. And you decline, and you say, I'm not in a hurry. If something happens it takes forever for us to get through that line, now I feel bad because the person behind me, now I shouldn't, because they declined. That's on them now. But then again, it's like, I'm telling you, my brain is like this. Like I'm thinking now, you know, this person, I understand they declined it, but they're sitting back there thinking, oh, I should have taken it now, because now we're waiting forever to get through my stuff. Yeah, you know, so I don't know. Maybe I just have too much anxiety.
If I'm the guy with a cart and that happens, I'm like, I told you should have went in front of me. I'm gonna make a joke. I'm gonna make light of it, you know.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, back to Aldi's. So I'm the guy with just a couple things in my hands, and there's lines on both registers that were open, and this lady says, "Here, you come and get in front of us." Her and her husband. I'm like, no, it's okay. She's like, no, come over here. I'm like, no, I like it here. I started making a joke about it. It's like, I like this spot a lot. She's like, okay. Well, then the lady over on this side says, hey, no, you can get in front of me. I was like, no, it's okay. You know, next thing you know, everybody in the line is like, no, get up here. They made me come to the very front. Everybody, like probably, I would say at least 6 people or couples with carts, made me get up in front, and they were all just like, oh yeah, get up there, cheering me on. And I was like, okay. I needed it that day. Like, this was a big turnaround. It's like, I even tried to deny, you know, that day, positivity wasn't having it. It was not going to let me just continue to mull around in the mully grubs, right? It wasn't going to continue to let me just sob around and being in a bad mood. It was going to compel me very, I wouldn't say forcefully, but very assertively. Positivity was that day to the front of the line. And it was just like they were all cheering me on. And it's like, you can do this. Get in a better fucking mood, man. You've got this. And I literally walked out of that place with a smile on my face, which I don't really do unless I'm laughing, right? I was just smiling like a goof. And it changed the entire trajectory of my evening. And it was a bad day, like one of those bad days, right? I was pissed off at the world. If it would have been the opposite, if it would have been a negative interaction of some kind, I probably would have popped off, you know, and I don't really do that either. It takes a lot. But it was one of those days, right? I was having a bad day. And I walked out of that place with a goofy smile, perma smile. That but they were all in concert together. They were all cheering me on, and they weren't going to let me not get to the front of the line. Right? They were going to turn around the situation. It was that forceful application of just a positive attitude. So I learned a couple of things there. When you're trying to do something positive, sometimes you got to be a little assertive. But also I learned how much it meant to those people for me to take them up on that offer. And so fast forward to Casey's the other day. I took them up on that offer without even really thinking about it much, and made sure that I thanked them both multiple times. Because I want them to know that I appreciated their gesture, and that their gesture is not going unnoticed. Right? I think it's important for us to do that for other people too, who are doing nice things for us.
Yeah.
Right. And so maybe that's why people do post, the red truck bought my lunch, in the drive-thru at Taco Bell, whatever. Maybe that's why they do that, because they want that person to feel like they're being noticed, or for it just not to go unnoticed, period, maybe, even though that person might not see that Facebook post. They just want to make sure that they give a shout out to the positive thing that happened to them today, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that is more important, the concept of allowing someone to be impacted by that positive thing, whether or not they are the ones who are the receiver or the giver of the positivity,
right? Because
it works both ways.
Yeah.
So there is no, in my opinion, once again, it kind of pushes back against your anxiety, as you put it, but you're overthinking on some things of this nature, because the positive just needs to be. It just needs to happen, Right. So if you got to push through some anxiety, and you got to overthink it a little bit, until, like you said, you do it so much that it becomes second nature, and you don't think about it so much anymore because it's just who you are.
Right.
Then I think it's what you got to do, is just push through.
I like it. Yeah.
Now, I talked about the assertiveness of the positivity there for a minute. You and I were also talking about this, and I find this interesting, because there's, I don't know. I think there's just the two sides of this coin are very different for me. But we were talking about.
I might die.
Yes.
That's what we were talking about. Okay, we're back. Woo.
Are you back?
Yep. That's
good. It's good to have you back, man. I missed you there for a minute.
Whew.
Being in the gym and seeing someone who has either terrible form, or they don't know how to use a machine properly, or something along those lines, where your instinct, at least for a lot of people, is to go over and say, hey, can I help you learn how to do this? Can I show you something here? So in a way, that's kind of like paying it forward, in a sense, right? You're trying to help them to achieve better form or better knowledge of the machine, or whatever the case may be, because they need to. If they continue to use it wrong, they might hurt themselves. They might not, make any kind of significant gains whatsoever based on what they're doing. They might be, kind of in a sense wasting their time. Maybe not. They're still lifting something. They're going to get something. But anyway, you want to go over and help them, because it's kind of, in a sense, paying it forward in that sense, right? Mm-hmm. Talk to me about that. How do you feel about that?
It's taken a lot of years to. This is going to sound shitty at me, but it's taken a lot of years for me to stay away from doing that, and just kind of stay to myself and not do it. I've just had interactions where I've tried to be that guy who walked up and be like, and so here's why. I've lifted at a lot of gyms since I started lifting, which was like 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And there were instances that I can remember right off the top of my head where I had guys who were like massive guys in these gyms who, when I wasn't very big, I was a small guy, didn't really know much of what I was doing, who these guys would come up and make the effort to give me examples of exercises to do, or tell me to do this instead of that, or something like that. And that motivated me to keep going. Like it almost felt like they seen something in me that I can be better or do better, or something along those lines. Even if that's just in my head, that's how I felt. And for a long time, it took a long time for me to get comfortable, like with myself enough to be able to think that I can go up and tell somebody and they're going to be comfortable receiving information from me on doing anything. Like that took a long time, because I don't want to be the guy who walks up and says, oh, you should do this instead of this or whatever. And they just look at me like, really? You're not one to talk to me right now. And it may be judgment on my part, but I see people in our gym that we go to that I look at and I'm like, try to lead by example a little bit, at least. Like if you're going to train or you're going to, show people how to do things the right way, but you clearly don't care to do things the right way on your part, like that's kind of, I don't know. I'm not big on that.
I got you.
But yeah, and then there was a time where I was doing what were considered first time workouts at our gym. And I kind of got in the, so basically when people would join the gym, if they wanted to learn how to use the machines and stuff like that, learn things here and there, I would set up meetings with them and they would come in and I'd show them the rigmarole of everything and how to do things and all that. So I kind of got used to doing that. Well, one day I was at the gym and I was lifting right next to the hack squat. And this guy, and I'll show, he's one of the bigger guys that are in our gym now, and you'll know who I'm talking about. I'll show you. But anyway, so I'm lifting next to it, and I notice he's doing the hack squat, but he's not going down very far. He's just like not even like to where his butt and his knees are level. He's just going down a certain way, and then going back up. But he's got a massive amount of weight on the hack squat. He's got like, I say massive, but massive for like our area of people. It was probably like 500 pounds on the hack squat, and he's not going down very far. And I'm thinking, that's for somebody that big, you would think you would be smart enough. Let's lower the weight. Let's get a good range of motion out of this instead of going down like, a little ways in the back up. So I felt the need to ask him. And I asked him, I didn't tell him. I asked him, I said, why don't you do a full range of motion in this exercise? And like I said, this guy's a lot bigger than me. And I said, why don't you do the full range of motion in this exercise? It's like you get a lot of good benefits by lowering the weight and doing this. So he looked at me, and I could tell he was annoyed by me saying it. And he told me that he's got tendonitis in his knees, and I don't remember what else he said. He said something else. But since that day, I can just feel that when he sees me in the gym, he's like, that's that dude that's way smaller than me that tried to tell me how to hack squat.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I can't do it anymore. Now, would it benefit me to see somebody in the gym that I know has no idea what they're doing to walk up and say, hey, just to help you out or here's some advice or whatever? Might make their day. It may motivate them to keep going. But ever since that day, man, I'm just like, that situation can go either way.
Yeah.
They can look at you, be like, get the fuck away from me. Or they can be like, oh, thank you so much. That's awesome. So long story short, since I tried to give advice to the wrong person at one time, now I don't do it anymore. Is that a good thing? Probably not, but it's just the way it goes.
I don't know. I think it's appropriate though. When you're actually giving advice or instruction or something like that, it's kind of a different animal than just paying for someone's food or letting them in front of you in line, right?
Okay.
Because you may be, even your intentions are good, you may come across as abrasive or annoying to that person, and that there's so many factors that could cause them to feel that way. Like, for instance, this guy felt like maybe it was best that he didn't use full range of motion, but still was getting some benefit out of the range that he did have. And being in the gym, he was probably waiting for someone, like begrudgingly, anticipating someone to tell him that he's not doing it right. And so when you did, it may have, rubbed him the wrong way. Right. Mm-hmm. And I don't even think it's necessarily, I think if someone is bigger, obviously they've done a lot of work, or they're just, genetically gifted, whatever. And then someone who is smaller and seemingly less experienced does give that advice. That's probably a recipe for that kind of reaction. Mm-hmm. But I don't even think it's just that. Like, I've seen a lot of different scenarios. I myself, for the most part, and I don't mean to, but in a lot of ways in public, I seem unapproachable. And I don't know why. It used to be a curse when I was in school and things like that. I was a timid, quiet guy who people just didn't talk too much. I didn't mean for it to happen. People used to call me a snob. I'm like, snob? Why would I be a snob? It's like I don't have money. I don't have class or anything. I'm just here, right?
I don't have class.
I was the smart kid, but I wasn't a snob.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I got picked on for that too. But nowadays, I understand that it's kind of like it's more of a blessing than it is a curse. It's more of a gift that I have because I'm not rude. I'm not, for the most part, I'm not mean or abrasive to people. They just don't feel like they can approach me like in a friendly way. I have to give signals and usually make the first step, and then I can break the ice, which I also used to suck at very badly. Now I've gotten pretty good at breaking the ice with most people, so it works out well. Anyway, my point is, I don't have a lot of people coming and giving me like advice, in kind of instruction or anything like that. But I see it happening with other people, and I see it happening for different reasons. Like, for instance, example number one, old boy who sees little hottie over there doing an exercise, and so he feels the need to go over there to show her, what to do. And I'm sure that, a lot of little hotties are used to that. The guys coming over and say, hey, you want me to show you how you can do this better and things like that. So obviously in my mind, there's already that ulterior motive,
Right.
And not that necessarily he's trying to get laid, but probably, but even just trying to play the big guy, the guy who knows everything in the gym and I can show you what's up and now you look up to me and so on. Ego booster, right? Mm-hmm. Then there's other scenarios where somebody might just not be, and I've seen this too, somebody's just really not trying to hear it. They're obviously, and I see some terrible, terrible performance. I know you do too in the gym. Like people who will do something and it just looks brutal. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know what it is they're trying to accomplish sometimes.
Yeah.
And so, but I've seen those people and I've seen other people come up and try to give them instruction, and the people, they're just not trying to hear it. That's not why they're there. They want to get their thing on. They want to do it their way. Mm-hmm. And if they wanted your advice, they would ask for it. Now, I like the story that you had about the guys coming to you and giving you that assistance. And I think that can still be done, but it has to be in more of a roundabout way. I think you just have to ease in. You have to get to know people, right? Mm-hmm. And once you do, then you can start just talking about stuff. And that's happened with me quite a bit. Like I've broken the ice with some of the bigger guys in there just because I feel like they're always there. So they're like staples in the gym. And so if I'm going to see you every day, at some point in time, I'm just going to go ahead and break the ice. And especially if we're working out close to each other, I'm just going to say, hey, how's it going? And start talking.
The gym's a hard place to do it though, because, the resting bitch face is a real thing when it comes to the gym. Like I'm sure with me and you, unless me and you are like talking to each other in between sets, me and you probably both have a look on our face like, we just lifted a bunch of weight. I don't really want to talk to anybody. It's just the way it goes. But there's a lot of guys in the gym that are like that too.
Yeah.
That I've never said a word to, or if I have, it's been very little, like just a, hey, how you doing, whatever. Or are you using that? I mean, that most guys in the gym, are you using that is probably the most that I've ever said to them the whole time.
You done? You done with this?
Are you done? Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, not to mention I've got Slipknot blaring in my earbuds.
Right.
And so my angst and my adrenaline and endorphins and testosterone is just, everything is just pumping. And so it's not the best place for a nice, polite conversation oftentimes, but it is at the same time, because I even catch myself, and we've talked about gym etiquette before in podcasts, of past and a long, long ago, but I catch myself sometimes just with that stare, and I'm lost in what I'm doing. But I come to and I notice I'm looking right at somebody, and now they're looking right at me. And so I try to mitigate that somehow by even giving a wave or a nod or something, just so
You know what's really bad about that for me, and I've noticed this lately, is that I use that same stare. I've found a way to use that same stare to not have to be in conversations or have to stay out of conversations. So like, say I'm standing next to a group of people over here. And it's open to where, like, if they wanted me to be involved in this conversation, they could ask me a question, but I'll find that stare and stare off into something on purpose, to where if they do look my way, they're thinking, oh, he's not paying attention to us anyways, and they do their thing.
Yeah.
So now I've taught myself how to do that, but anymore, it's not actually just me doing it on purpose. It's like, I'm literally staring, like I'm off, like you're talking about, not really realizing who's there or what's there that I'm staring at. I'm just in that zone now.
Right.
So I've taught myself how to do it in situations where I want to do it, but now that's led me into doing it in situations where I don't want to do it too.
So you've harnessed the power, and now you just have to, get it under control.
Yeah. So is this a superpower or a superpower?
Absolutely.
Maybe I'm a superhero now.
I think you are.
I'm Stairman.
So the gym pay it forward is of a different beast, I believe, in that sense, because just the other day when you and I were working out, old dude asked me to come spot him.
Yeah.
That doesn't usually happen to me, and I'm okay with that, but I'm also okay with helping somebody if they need a spotter every once in a while.
So
I'm not looking for a new best friend. Don't get me wrong. I already have a workout partner.
So what did that? Okay, so that instance, I remember it happening, and I remember as soon as it happened, I had like different thoughts about it. Like I was wondering how it made you feel whenever he asked you to do that. Like, did that boost your confidence? Like, oh, he's finding one of the bigger guys, one of the bigger guys in the gym to help him do this, or were you not even thinking anything like that? You're just like, oh, a guy needed a spot. But then again, when a guy's got, 250, 275 pounds on a bar, they're not going to go find the smallest guy in the gym to come help them lift that bar off their chest, right?
Yeah.
So I was wondering how you thought about that scenario too, because I've been there and I've thought the same thing too. Like I've had people ask me to spot them, and I'm like, there's other people in the gym that he could have asked to spot them that are available to do it. So it kind of made me feel good that they came to me to ask me to do it.
I got you. I don't know that I was thinking along those lines. It was a little bit of a boost for me, but more of the fact that and this is weird, it seems like a contradiction, which I am oftentimes a walking, talking contradiction of myself. But I was happy that he felt comfortable enough to come up and ask me when he could have asked several other people.
Yeah.
Now, you're right. He's not going to go ask, someone with stick arms to come spot him when he's got that much weight on the bar. Mm-hmm. He's going to ask someone who's bigger. So there is that element. But I was also, I guess, kind of just, I don't know. It was just like an ego boost. Like, okay, maybe I'm just kind of fitting in,
Yeah.
It's good to fit in sometimes. And oftentimes I don't feel like I fit in a lot of situations, a lot of, environments and things like that, especially outside of my professional life. Like professionally, I can almost always, because it's all about the job. That's my mission. Anytime other than that, I always have felt this way. Like I just don't fit into a lot of places, a lot of crowds, a lot of, cultures, things like that. So that was more where I was going with it.
Gotcha.
I just felt good that he was comfortable enough to come ask me.
Gotcha.
But the being big enough thing, that's obviously a factor too. Mm-hmm. But I think that just kind of goes with that. It's like, because I'm in the gym all the time, and so I'm with you all the time. So you know this. But we're just in there all the time. People know us there. Even though they might not know our names, they see us. They know that we're a staple there too, mm-hmm. And so I think with that, I'm assuming a little bit here, but with that, they probably, they think that, or they assume or know that also comes with a level of experience, a level of work ethic and things like that, a level of seriousness to that, to that degree. But also we go in there and we have fun, we laugh and have a good time and torture ourselves with lots of different exercises that you come up with off of mostly John Meadows and other people who like to torture human beings with exercise.
Well, let me ask you this, and this may not be like, I don't have to talk about this on the podcast. It's just curious. So there's one couple that comes into the gym most of the time when we're in there. You notice that they're looking our way a lot. I notice that both of them are quite a bit.
Yes.
And I'm curious on why that is.
Yeah.
And I think about, is it because, okay, these are two guys that are in the gym all the time that are in here putting in work, and they respect that, and they're just looking our way. And then I wonder, does she think that we're looking at her, and does he think that we're looking at her, and that's why both of them are looking in our direction?
Yeah.
So I was thinking that, and clearly I'm not trying to act like we're stalkers, because we're absolutely not. We are absolutely not looking at her for the, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the scenario that if that's what they're trying to paint, that's not the scenario that's being painted.
I got you.
But What's shied me, or what's made me think that that's not what it is because there's been a couple of times where we've had to talk to that guy or whatever, and he's like the nicest guy ever.
Yeah, he is.
So it makes me think that if he thought that he would be a little more annoyed or maybe rude to us because he thought we were looking at his woman.
Yeah.
Right. And and it's not just them. It's like, I'm sure that scenario happens in every gym, and you're just curious on, like, I wonder how do you take in the stares if they're staring at you? And they're a fit couple. I mean, they're both pretty, pretty big for who they are. So them looking at us, I prefer to think that it's like, these are two guys that are here all the time. They're putting in work and, they're decent sized and I'm impressed by it. I want to think that that's what it is. Is that what it is? I don't know, but hopefully I never know. And I can just accept that that's what it is.
It's funny because I've wondered the same thing about them in particular too, but others as well. But they're one of the more prominent couples in that gym, guy-girl couples.
Well, I mean, that there are scenarios though where guys that go into the gym with their woman, like there's no way, like you're in a gym full of guys.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm not saying us, I'm saying other guys are going to look. It's going to happen. Yeah. And if you're the jealous type, I mean, you can walk in there with one of two mindsets. You can say, these guys are looking at my woman, but I'm going home with her.
Right.
Or you can look at it as, I'm going to go in there and get pissed off because all these dudes are looking at my woman.
Yeah. You might as well just walk in pissed off.
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen.
But the jealous type is not going to be the guy that's going to let her go in there by herself. He's got to go in there with her.
Absolutely.
There's no way around that.
Right.
So it's like, just be pissed off or learn how to put that, like, take that rage and put it to the weights.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't know.
So a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
So with those two in particular, I've got to be honest with you from my perspective. But let me walk this out though before you start casting judgment at me. I do look at her. She's a beautiful specimen, and it's not that she's one of the smaller, petite, little hotties that walks around. This chick is muscular, man. She's got it going on. Her legs and her hamstrings, which is part of her legs, but just in her butt and her arms are as big as mine. I think. She's a fit girl, man. So I catch myself looking at her, but I notice him too, right? And I'm not ogling. Like I don't ogle females in the gym for a lot of different reasons. For one thing, it's a principle for me. Even if they never notice me, even if I can just like sit there and stare and they would never even know or wouldn't care, that's not why I'm there, and I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I've even seen a lot of guys, trying to pick up girls at the gym. It's like I don't want that to be why I'm there, because it's distracting. Mm-hmm. And I've got goals, and that's not my goal there, and so I don't want to get off course, right? But I look at people, and this is like the bigger point that I was getting to after you get done casting your judgment on me for looking at her. Because I do look at women. I've seen some, and I'm not sitting there thinking, man, I'd like to have sex with her, right? I'm sitting there thinking, man, she has got some really nice hamstrings. Or look at the way that her, just her curvature is, or her arms, or her shoulder. That one lady that's always in there, I noticed her back muscles, man, one day when she was doing some cable crossovers. Man, her every muscle group in her back was just popping, and they weren't like huge, but they were just so defined. I was like, that is freaking awesome. And I'm sitting there looking at it, knowing that I'm looking at a woman. But I do that, and I look at guys too, not in the same way. Obviously, I'm not saying look at that guy's hamstrings, but I do notice when someone's cut, when they're built, when they got big arms or huge shoulders or whatever the case may be. I think it's natural to do that in the gym to some degree, right? Yeah. I think there's an etiquette to it once again. I think that there's a difference because I saw, or maybe I heard, it might have even been on our show with one of the guys that we've talked to from Advices or something, and I think it was about gym etiquette. It might have been Scott. But anyway, I heard at some point somebody say, it's okay, get you a look, look at them and then move on about your business, right? Because you're going to notice a good-looking body. You're going to notice nice muscles, big muscles, well-defined muscles. You're going to notice a pretty lady, and especially if she's got skimpy stuff on, and so it's showing. A lot of times it's tight, like the yoga pant type of things. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's little short shorts. But you're going to notice these things, right? We're humans, and we're in there trying to make ourselves look better. Look, a big part of being in the gym for me is about my ego. It is. And I'm going to be upfront about that. And I think I always have been. I want to look better, but I also want to feel better. You know, I want to be in good shape. I want to live longer, all that good stuff. But I really like the whole ego boosting, looking better, getting bigger, you know, being able to throw my weight around a little bit. Not that I misuse that, but it's just the way it makes me feel, because I think I'm a good steward of that. I think I can be responsible. I'm older now. I'm not, a 20s testosterone raging, dickhead out there just, wanting to be a bully. Like that's the farthest thing. But I do like the way that it makes me look and feel in that sense, as far as my ego boost. I think that's why a lot of people are in the gym to look better, and so I don't mind getting noticed in the gym, right? But I do think along the same lines, because I've noticed the dynamic of that couple that you started talking about first. I've noticed him looking at us and she looking in turn, and just the kind of the way it works, and they try not to look at the same time. So I don't know what it's about. She might have the very same perspective as me. She might just notice those two guys. He might notice the same thing, because like you said, when we talk to that guy anytime, he's super nice. Yeah. Super nice guy. And she seems like she's a little bit shyer, but she doesn't make, like, when you look at her, when you make eye contact, she turns away pretty quickly. Yeah. But that's probably also because of her not wanting to get too much attention, because she doesn't want to deal with, the bullshit. And maybe because she also respects her dude, and so she will look at you, but then she's going to turn away, right? I've seen other couples now, people, and no offense to anybody, I don't care. It's not why I'm there, but women who don't look nearly as good as that lady, but they're there with their guys, and their guys are like hawking the entire time. You can just see him looking, and if you look at his woman, you can look up and he's looking right at you already. It's like he wants you to know that, hey, that's not okay. Right. I don't understand why that would be hard for me to go to the gym like that, and I am kind of a jealous guy, so I wouldn't necessarily like my lady going to the gym by herself, but I don't think I could go and have to deal with that. I think I'd rather just trust her, have fun. You do it when you do it. If we meet up sometimes, that's fine, but it would be such a big distraction for me to have to deal with, because it is a lot of human beings looking at other human beings. And once again, a lot of these human beings are going to look pretty good. Not all of them. Some of them are on their journey to looking better and to feeling better, and that's okay too. But at this, through the process, you're going to notice, man. And I don't act like I don't. Yeah. I'm going to admit that, I'm not ogling, but I look for nice features. It's just, why not?
Well, it's because you're part of that now, though, too. It's because you've been in the gym for a long time, too, and you're not necessarily looking at something to look at, but you're looking at something like, even if it's a dude that's a lot bigger than you, you're looking at something that you respect or that is impressive to you. Right. I'm not looking at you because I'm gay. I'm looking at you because, dude, your traps are popping, your back is popping, like, your quads are huge, and to me, that's like, that's awesome. But, the other side of that is like social media side of, like people that post pictures all the time. I've seen people, I still, see people who are not very big, who are in the beginning of their journey, posting on social media. And that's cool. If they think they got a good arm pump today and they're posting on social media, because even though they're a twig, they're small, if it makes them feel good, maybe in 10 years, if they're huge, they can look at a before and after picture and be like, dude, this is motivation right here.
Right. Comes back in their memories and whatnot.
So I don't know. It's just, that there's people out there who are jealous and don't like to see other people posting, like, even if it's somebody that's huge. I mean, even your big names like John Meadows, I'm sure he's got people who, when he posts a picture of him being in the gym or posing or whatever, there's only people out there who are going to not like it. They're going to be, but it's probably a jealousy thing, or they're just not into fitness and things like that, so I've always attributed it to, like, if you have a car that you built from the ground up and you post a picture of it, how's that any different from you starting out at the bottom and building a body and that you want people to see and that you're impressed by, but other people look at that and is like, I don't want to see that. Like, I worked hard for this and I want to show it off. Same shit as a car. I built a car from the ground up. I put the tires on, I put the engine in, I painted it, I did all this stuff, and I'm showing you what it looks like from the ground up. Yeah. You know, that's the same thing to me. And if you don't like it, buzz off and get off my social media.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I agree with that.
I know I took that in a weird direction, but it all like in my head connected to each other.
Yeah, I get it. And it kind of just comes back once again to the, I guess, gym etiquette is a common phrase that I use, but just the dynamics in the gym. Very interesting. It's very interesting. I used to loathe that dynamic. I used to loathe that environment, you know, even though I would go to the gym, I couldn't stand just all the visibility, the noticing, because people look, even when I wasn't before, now I am just not even admitting it. I own it, you know, I approve of it. I think it's okay. I think that, you know, we can all be in the same building and reaching our goals, and we're going to notice each other, right? It's just going to happen. And just kind of, I let that part of that anxiety or self-consciousness or whatever it was go. But I used to not like it. But I don't know. I've just come to terms that it's okay. You know, it's okay. There's just an etiquette about it. And it goes back to paying it forward too. When I see somebody like in the locker room or just in general, in the general milieu, you know, I'll say, hey, man, did you get a good workout in? Something like that. Because especially if I see them often and I haven't really talked to them yet, I'll start talking to them, opening things up, you know, breaking the ice.
Right.
That way, if they do ask me for any advice, or maybe they've got something they want to give to me, it's not just a cold, hey, let me show you how to do this, right? It's not just a, hey, I'm just assuming you don't know what you're doing, which might offend one person or the other when you come at them, you know, and it's an assumption that the person's intentions might be pure. Sometimes they might not be, but oftentimes I think it is, but it seems like it's coming maybe from a place of condescension, you know, and so people that's going to rub them the wrong way, especially if they're already timid in the gym in the first place. And so just breaking that ice and just being good in general, and to me, I might be stretching the bounds a little bit, but just saying, hey, did you get a good workout in today, and things like that is kind of a way of paying it forward, you know, instead of at least it's setting things up for future to be able to do something for somebody, you know, because it's great to do things for strangers. You should. At every chance you get, let them in front of you in the line, pay for their meal, whatever the case may be. But I think we're going to get a lot more opportunity when you actually build, it doesn't have to be a close relationship, but just breaking that ice, right? Just having a very rudimentary, fundamental, basic kindness for the people around you, and they recognize you because of that. And so it's going to open up more things for you in that way, right? Yeah. And so in a place like that where you're congregating often, I think you're going to get more opportunity by building some level of rapport with those people, you know?
Well, I mean, and if you think about it too, like a little bit deeper, like people can benefit from that. So it's kind of tying things, like a lot of things together. But if you're in the locker room and you say, even if it's just like the person's getting ready to lift and you'd be like, man, have a good workout, you know, or whatever like that. And then you go out there, they may want to do an exercise that they don't know anybody else in the gym, but you're that one person that said 3 words to them in the locker room. Now they might feel good enough to at least come to you and be like, hey, you care to spot me on this or something like that.
Exactly.
They're getting benefit from that. Just because you said 3 words to them, they're getting benefit from that because now they're doing an exercise or they feel comfortable pushing more weight or something like that because they got somebody that's, you know, going to be there to spot them.
Yeah.
And then now that rapport is there and you start talking to each other or whatever throughout the gym or whatever. You may have a gym partner, you know, from that in a couple of weeks or something along those lines. Yeah. So they're just very, very small gestures. And I actually had that same thing with a guy right after New Year's in the gym. A guy that's in there all the time I'd never talked to before. And I was getting ready to put my headphones in the locker room and he came in and he goes, I can't remember what he said, something about that he was coming in the gym to run off all those beers that he drank from the night before because it was New Year's or whatever like that, you know. And I was like, I just said, yeah, same here or something along those lines. And I'd never talked to him before, but now, like, you know, there's a little bit of exchange between us in the gym and stuff like that. And even if he's got that resting bitch face, I know that that's not who he, like, that face isn't who he is, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting. There's a lot of different dynamics for a lot of different people all in the same place at one time.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
and you've got the different levels of fitness too, which also adds to the complexity. You know, you've got people who are, you know, obese, grossly obese, right? And then you've got people who are kind of in the middle. You've got older people, who are just trying to stay in shape, maintain, or maybe they got a bad report from the doctor or whatever. They need to, try to exercise to manage some kind of dysfunction going on in their bodies. And so you've got people who are physically fit, kind of in their prime, are looking good and doing their thing, whether it's just building bulk or whether it's just really staying in peak shape, with the cross training area, something like that. You've got all these different kinds of people with all these different personalities, but basically, in essence, with roughly the same goal, right? Mm-hmm. Getting in better shape, exercise, right? Fitness. That's the whole goal. And so I think we can just all kind of unify on that and be kind to each other as much as possible. Now, I say this, everything I said sounds really nice and sunshiny, and half the time I'm in the gym and I'm listening to some hateful heavy metal music, and I'm just angry and taking it out on these weights or whatever it is I'm doing, these machines, whatever. And I probably look like I'm about ready to jump out of my fucking skin, right? Mm-hmm. That's me most of the time in the gym, to be honest. But when I'm not doing that, though, I've really grown into and gotten comfortable with the atmosphere and the dynamic of being around those people. Because when I first got back into the gym this last time around, because I had carried this with me. Like I said, I used to hate the atmosphere. I used to hate the whole dynamic of everything at the gym. I liked the exercise part. I liked the lifting and things like that. I just didn't like a lot of other things that was inherent within that certain environment. But I've realized something, because I used to think that all of the bigger musclehead guys were, just, once again, I was preconceiving that they were assholes, I guess, that they were big and they were kind of, like the bullies I still thought about in high school and things like that.
Just massive egos. And,
hateful and always ready to make fun of you if you didn't know what you were doing or something like that. All those years, I never really took the time to actually talk to and break the ice and get to know those guys. Because what I've realized is, for a lot of those guys, not all of them, some of them are very outgoing and friendly, but for a lot of them, they are actually the timid, quiet guys. And some of it might even be a little bit of a self-consciousness thing, mm-hmm. right? And that there's a lot of other things that we could talk about there. We could possibly break down, but there's the variables are endless. But for them, it might be because either they're self-conscious and they build themselves up physically because they deal with that self-conscious nature within themselves, or it might be because it's kind of like the whole beautiful woman thing who never gets any dates because everybody's too afraid to ask her because they're intimidated by her. And so they feel disconnected. They feel kind of ostracized from most other people and that's maybe how those guys have felt too. So I just learned to start breaking the ice with them too. And it just makes everything, just taking the time to get to know people and not stereotyping, I think, is also very important.
Yeah, I guess the other thing is that if you break the ice with somebody and they are an asshole, now you know they're an asshole and you just walk away.
You just move on. But it's better to know it than get it out of the way, because there are still some assholes. I've met a few in our current gym.
Yeah.
One in particular.
Really?
But yeah.
You have to tell me who that is afterwards. I'm interested.
I don't know him. He's not a regular there.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
He was there with his lady who used to be somewhat regular. But yeah, just a real grade A ass.
Nice.
Yeah. The grade A. The A stands for ass.
Grade ass.
Grade ass.
Grade ass.
Yeah.
Huh.
Anyway, man. Time flies by when you're having fun.
It's true.
So good stuff, man. Pay it forward. Find somebody to be good to.
Right.
And be good to them, whether they're a stranger or not. But try to do good things and watch the positivity wave out in front of you. Even if you don't see it, realize it. And also give other people the chance to be positive to you. Like take some help every once in a while. Even sometimes if you don't need it.
Right.
Like do it for good intentions. Just do it because you know that person will benefit from being able to help you. Because that's a big thing. You know how good it feels when you help somebody. Also realize that it makes them feel good when they can help you too.
Right.
And so get over yourself sometimes a little bit, like I had to, and allow them to help you, because that's doing them good. And in a sense, you're also helping to pay positivity forward that way.
Faux show.
Yep. All right, man.
Hi.
We out.